So the question comes up with harmonics. Is the utility sending me the harmonics, or am I generating the harmonics and pushing them out and affecting myself?
Sure.
So again, where do harmonics come from? Do they come from me, or do they come from the utility? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw out just a simple Ohm's law explanation of where harmonic currents come from. And we've talked about this in many of the other videos, but just as a very simple form, we're just going to talk through it and draw it out. So I have my service transformer from my utility company, and I have maybe other transformers and other loads down throughout here. But if I have drives or other harmonic producing loads, I'm going to create and generate harmonic currents. And we don't think about constant current sources on power systems normally. This is something that's one of those things that you learn in school and you say, why did they ever teach me about constant current sources? This is why. So think about the current as flowing back on the system, and current has to flow in a loop. So it goes out and it'll come back to itself. And it goes out on phase A, for example, and back on B and C. Out on B, back on C and A, and so forth. If it goes out on phase, it might come back on the neutral as well. But there's current going out and coming back, and that's how harmonic currents circulate. So I mentioned Ohm's law, voltage equals current times impedance. And basically, in a normal situation, we think about voltage applied here and current flowing to loads. But in the case of harmonics, the voltage distortion is caused by current distortion multiplied by the harmonic impedance. So the more current I push out, meaning let's say I add some more drives, the more harmonic current I add, the more I'm going to distort my voltage. The other thing that can happen is if I switch over to a generator, and we've talked about this in other videos, this generator impedance might be 18%, whereas this transformer impedance might be 6%. So under this source, I have 6% impedance here, and I can triple that by 3x, which means my voltage distortion will get a lot higher on my generator. So can the harmonics come from the utility? The answer is yes, only if I have another neighbor over here, okay, Mr. Neighbor, who is producing this harmonic current. And if that current comes out, it might go over this way. The only reason it would want to come into here, though, to be honest with you, is if you have capacitors, because the source impedance looking this way is always going to look a lot better in terms of going back into the power system. So harmonic currents can come from the neighbor, but most of the time they're going to go back to the utility source. And harmonics can't really come from the utility unless they come in, again, for resonance reasons and other purposes. So in one other video, we talk a little bit about voltage distortion causing current distortion, at least in one other video. But we can get that kind of harmonic, influence from the utility. But again, that's because your neighbors are screwing up the power system enough for you to get voltage distortion. But as far as current distortion goes, that comes from us, comes from the loads, and we infect ourselves. So we have to control the flow of that current to control harmonics.